You're watching Showroom 18. Here we have the Sony Xperia E5 following on from the Xperia E4, which was released April 2015. The E5 was released July 2016 with Android 6. The phone we have based this review on is also running Android 6 and is model F3311. If you want to skip to any parts of the review, all navigation times can be found in the description. The E5 is 2.71 inches in width, 5.6 inches in length, and 0.32 inches in thickness. On the front is a 5-inch screen with a resolution of 720 by 1280 and a pixel density of 294. This at the top left is the notification light, on the other side is the front-facing camera, on the back of the phone is the NFC area, the back camera and flash. On the top is the 3.5mm jack port, on the bottom is the speaker and micro USB port, on the right side of the phone is the power key and volume keys. On the left is where you can add your nano SIM and micro SD card. It can be a bit tricky to add the SIM card because first you have to take out this black attachment known as the SIM card holder. It can be difficult to grip, but once it is removed from the phone, you add the SIM card here and place it back in. The Xperia E5 has a 1.3 GHz quad-core Cortex A53 processor, which is a MediaTek MT6735 chipset with 1.5 GB of RAM and 16 GB of internal storage, with up to 256 GB external storage through the use of a micro SD card. From first using the phone, there was 9.18 GB free out of a total of 10.6 available to the user. I checked this before updating and installing any further applications. The following connectivity features the device has are as follows: Wi-Fi, Wi-Fi Direct, GPS, Bluetooth, NFC, micro USB and micro USB charging, FM radio. The sensors you get on this device is an accelerometer, proximity and compass. Having a look at what is on the phone, there is 5 screens to swipe through with the options of adding more. Swiping down is where you can view your notifications and access quick settings. Pressing here is where you can see all of your apps. There appeared to be less Sony applications pre-installed than usual. There was music, album, video, weather, Xperia Transfer Mobile, Sketch, What's New and Xperia Lounge. A lot of the missing ones can still be installed from the Play Store like Track ID and Smart Connect. Next, going through settings in themes is where you can choose or download Xperia themes to personalize the device. In display settings we have the following: brightness level, adaptive brightness, sleep, smart, backlight control, white balance and others. Sony have incorporated a few other options into the settings like in-call to use Xperia answering machine and the colourful tips and images that come up to assist you when you first use the phone and applications. You can go through these in support and view Xperia Care, as the apps require permissions to use your camera or microphone. The presentation on this is very useful for helping with better understanding of the phone, seeing the storage usage and setting up users to the phone. The phone takes around 45 seconds to power up, and once up, everything swipes through and opens up quickly. The quality of the screen and the resolution look great and fits the size of the screen. The viewing angles and video playback also look good, with this being a lower end device. The games I tested was Geometric Dash, Pokemon Shuffle and Sonic Racing Transformed. These games ran well and there was no issues or lag apart from with Sonic Racing Transformed. I was able to play through the levels, but there was noticeable frames dropping throughout the game and a lag during the opening of the courses. Running the 3D Mark Slingshot ES 3.1 test on the E5, it got a score of 129, a graphics score of 104 and a physics score of 847. The volume is not very loud when you use the internal speaker to show a YouTube video to someone or listening to music in a room. It is not too much of an issue, but I noticed this as I share a lot of content with other people, and using the E5 it was hard to hear over background sounds than normal. With that said, the ringtones and alert notifications sounded loud enough, and using headphones to listen to music and video content, it sounded clear and is better suited with headphones or external speakers. When using headphones, there is an option to choose from the following Sony headphones that you might be using, or in audio settings, the options of Clear Audio Plus, sound effects and dynamic normalizer. There is a 5MP camera on the front and a 13MP camera on the back. Loading up, we have 3 modes to choose from: video, camera and manual mode. This is to switch cameras, and we can choose flash settings from here. Looking at video settings, we have the choice of colour and brightness, scene selection and video resolution. Next, going over to the settings in auto photo mode, we have self timer, colour and brightness, resolution settings, which you will notice the 13 megapixel camera is of an aspect ratio of 4:3. To have 16:9, the camera will then be set to 9 megapixel. Then lastly, to go to manual mode, these two additional options appear, white balance and scene selections. Then in settings, the additional options is ISO, HDR, object tracking, metering, and going back into resolution, you have further megapixel options to choose from. Object tracking and the common settings are available in all three modes. The photos did not turn out the way I had hoped. They looked darker and more clear on the phone screen. Then when looking back at them on the computer, the photos looked overexposed and blurry. I feel the autofocusing and light conditions are to blame for this, because when I turned the camera on while outside, everything was out of focus. I had to wait a couple of seconds for it to auto adjust, and when it does, it will keep going back out of focus and then back in. Even in manual mode and choosing various metering and scene selections, this issue still occurs. It is possible to take some photos that look good enough, but for the simple point and shoot method, it is not consistent enough. You'll have to take a couple of the same shots just to make sure. The video quality is full HD at 30 frames per second. This is the video quality of the Xperia E5. This is the quality of the front-facing cameras. The battery did run out quicker than other phones I use based on the same usage. Starting the day at 6:30 AM with a fully charged phone, by the time it got to 8:30 AM, the battery was down to 91% after using the FM radio for about an hour. I spent a further 30 minutes taking the example photos and video for this review. After this, at around 9 AM, it was down to 73%. The camera was using 43% of the battery so far. It stayed around 73% up till 12:19 PM. As I left it on standby to get on with work and tasks. By 1:13 PM, the battery was at 65% after taking a break and watching YouTube videos and checking social media for around 20 minutes. On average, based on what I was doing, the phone seemed to be getting down to around 60 or 50% towards the evenings, which at that point I keep it on standby and switch it off at night. There is more space on the E5 than the past models, even though 37% of the storage was already in use right from the start. 9GB of internal storage is low considering the fact that it is advertised as 16. With all that said, this is still the most space I have had to start out with in comparison to previous Xperia E phones in the series. Taking everything into consideration, the Xperia E5 is more about presentation than overall performance. It has the look and style similar to the premium Xperia phones. The screen quality is good for a lower end device and has nicely presented help guides, icons and menu animations. The presence of Sony is sort of absent when it comes to the hardware like in previous models. There is less of their own first-party apps and Xperia integration in things like contacts, the option of lenses and Sony apps to use with the camera and other programs. You can still download some of these things from the Google Store, and in terms of games, you can play the lower to medium games without issues. There is more internal space with this model than the previous phones. If battery life and camera quality are your main priority, then this phone might not be the best option to go for, since the screen display is what drains the battery. I would say this phone is better suited for anyone that is looking for a better display, that prefers the style of the phone, or for a more affordable price. Music works great with headphones, and there is plenty of support for new users. Thanks for watching. If you have any other questions, let us know in the comments. If you want to watch more, you can check out the review of the Xperia E4, which came out a year before the E5. Or if you want to see our comparison of both the E5 versus the E4, you can click on the annotation or links in the description.